Hi, welcome to Black and Organic. And today we're going to be doing something a bit different. And I'm really excited because I have Stefania. So I struggle with stress. I work a really high pressurized job to write bids. You're dealing with lots of stakeholders, lots of different moving parts. So one of the things I struggle with is stress. So I went to a breath walk with Stefania some weeks back, and it was amazing. So now I want to talk a bit more about what breath walking is, learn a bit about Stefania's background in a bit more detail myself, and hopefully, yeah, this will be a really interesting, different way to have a event today. So hi, Stefania.
Hi, Shirley. Thank you very much. I'm very excited myself, and thank you very much for your invitation here. Yeah, I am Stefania, and I have also a spiritual name, is Gurudam. And yes, I'm very, very excited to share about breathwork with everyone today.
Oh, I'm excited for people to know about it because it's really, really, yeah, it's life changing. I find it life changing. Um, so with the breath walking, um, it sounds like you're just breathing and walking, which everyone does all the time. so
Yeah, it's true.
yeah.
It's true.
So what exactly is breath walking as a discipline or a technique?
Yeah. Exactly. It's not just a simple walking and breathing, but is the science of breath and walk in a synchronized way, in a specific pattern, using a specific breath pattern that have been explored also scientifically, so they know exactly the effect of this kind of pattern. And then it also using some meditation and also some specific what is called in the breath walk magic fingers, so movement of your fingers to stimulate the energy.
Right. And we talk about this energy that we're trying to stimulate, really like the historical origins of this. And
Yeah, the breath work, I can start perhaps from the origin of the breath work.
yeah.
It is was created by Harbhajan Singh Khalsa Yogi, known also like Yogi Bhajan, with Guru Charan Singh. One, Guru Charan Singh had a background as a mathematician and also psychologist, so very scientific mind, you know. And he met Yogi Bhajan, who is a master of Kundalini Yoga, who lived in the other century, but is teaching are still very, very popular. And so they together wanted to develop something that had scientific base, because I'm talking about the 90s of the last century. So no internet, very limited knowledge about yoga, mindfulness, all these techniques. And at that time, they were also considered quite naive, quite strange. So not really, people were skeptical. Not many studies were carried out already. So they wanted also someone that make it simple for someone who didn't like also to stay indoor in the studio, sitting and so on. So they did really a research. So they measured the effect of these antique techniques, because they changed a little bit the name, but for people who practice yoga, they can recognize some techniques in breath, but also in the mudra, in the lock of your hands, and so on. So they wanted to make a mix, but with a scientific approach. So they developed a specific program that they work on specific aims. You mentioned anxiety,
Yeah.
but there are also for joy, for depression, for clarity of mind. So, for example, if you have difficult times and you are quite confused, no? Sometimes the confusion can also stuck you, block you. There are specific program that can help.
Right. Okay. So it's kind of like reconnecting you to who you are really because you're using movement and breathing and all those
Yeah,
things.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
We can say that because it creates awareness, but also has a specific effect at the physical body because you stimulate chemicals reaction, and they have been measured, so verified,
Yeah.
and but in a particular systematic way. So let's say everyone can do the meditation that you practice in the breathwalk, that by the way were designed specifically for this program, or you can practice the breathing techniques. But the way in they are organized, all the movement, is the structure that
Right.
leads you to certain results.
Right. Oh, that gets me into the other question. What is the structure actually?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah. It makes sense a lot
Yeah.
because I created a bit of curiosity. Yeah. So there is an awakening, 5 steps. The first one is awakening, so some mild exercise that prepare your body and your energetic body to receive and be open to the other part of the program. Then you have an aligning where we start to walk in a conscious way. And now we think about that this system was developed more than 25 years ago.
Right.
Now, what I'm saying will make sense for everyone
Yeah.
because we can name also things that I'm telling you.
Yeah, like align
And,
ourselves.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So we really started to move and prepare the body to receive the energy
Right.
that we stimulate with the exercises. So then there is the vitalize step. So this is the core, is really the most important part because here we use the breath in specific patterns. So, for example, we change the breath pattern in the way we change the ratio or the length. For
Okay.
example, you can have a long inhale and exhale, and we work on the length of the breath. But we can also change the ratio. So if we say we inhale in 1 2 seconds and exhale in 1 second, so we are changing the ratio of our breath.
Yeah.
So this is actually where the science is behind, because changing the ratio, the frequency, the length, the way we break down the breath, change the effect.
Right.
So can be
Okay.
energizing, can be more calming, can help and to develop chemicals reaction that work, for example, on making you feel more calm, in control, or just energize yourself, and so on. So this is really the core. And on the top of that, we use the magic finger that in the yoga we will call it mudra. We move because we actually stimulate the energy and we enhance the work of the breath and the walking.
Right.
And sometimes on the top of that, we add also the sounds, the primal sounds that are very short syllables that help and vibrate at energetic level to again enhance all the work we are doing. And finally, we have the last 2 steps, which are balancing. So we have energized our body, but we need our body be able to absorb properly all this work. So we do this in the fourth step, the balancing, and then we integrate everything that we have done in the way that it will last, the effect, the effects will last also during the day, but someone report also benefit for all the weeks. So,
Yeah. Like,
so
I know when I've gone to a breath walking session with you, I felt the first day, it's amazing, but it does last throughout
yeah,
the week, you know,
yeah,
that integration step and making sure it continues.
yeah.
That's like the critical step.
Yeah, that is something that is really, really amazing because sometimes I practice yoga for many years and so on. Yeah, I remember when I started at the beginning, I was going in the studio, feeling very good, and then back again out. And after few, it was like you were in the bubble, and then going out. It was not being another world, and like the benefit were just sleeping
Right,
through your
yeah. No.
fingertips and so on. Instead, here is like having a tool that optimize and allow you to be in control, grounded, also when you go back outside.
Yeah.
Maybe because there is not really sharp definition difference between, because you are working, you are still really in the world. So it's
Yeah.
for me, it's very, very amazing.
And even in kind of orthodox medicine and how they treat things like anxiety and stress,
Yeah,
there's always this emphasis on breathing and types of breathing if you have a panic attack or if you do something different or encouraging people to move, but it all is very segregative. There's not the layers and steps that you're talking about where you're trying to get primed to actually accept
yeah,
it and then you're integrating and balancing it. So that's what I like as well because we often in orthodox ways of thinking forget that our bodies have a spiritual component, a mental
yeah,
component, a physical component that all has to kind of work in
yeah,
sync. Um, and which goes back to though we do have a lot of people accepting of yoga practices, the fact that breath walk is scientifically based and it can be supported with data, that is happening. But people still have misconceptions around why you should do something that's more spiritual based, more yoga. You know, people kind of go, "Oh, this is a bit hippy dippy," and
yeah, exactly,
yeah.
exactly,
So, what
exactly.
sort of misconceptions was do people come in with when they have a breath walking session, and then afterwards they're sort of like, "Oh, this isn't what I thought it was," or you
Yeah.
know, what kind of things?
Yeah, I think if you book for a breath walk, you already have something inside you that
Yeah.
might be, as when I started, for example, yoga, because my background is in science. So
Right.
I have
Yeah.
physics degrees and looking at the uh, solar system in the past and so on. So very, very mind oriented. And when I started yoga, so getting in touch with back in 1994, so quite long ago,
That's a
it
good
was
year.
quite strange people sitting around at that time also with a crystal. So, in the middle,
Yeah.
chanting something strange that I could not understand the language, I don't know. So,
Yeah.
and you could really not have many information because again there was no internet at that time,
Yeah.
but I went out and I felt something different triggering me good. I felt good. I was very stressed with university because physics, astrophysics is quite uh, hard to
Yeah.
do. And I felt like, oh, my mind was just clear, I was relaxed for, and so I started.
Yeah.
So in the breath walk, and this is also the way and why I discovered also breath walk, because I experienced myself difficulties um, in when you practice something and you are in science field,
Yeah.
people look at you. And
Yeah.
it was at that
Agree.
time you could be also your scientist reputation could be undermined at that
Yeah.
time. So I was looking for something that had these techniques, but was proved. And maybe the authors thought about the same to deliver something that would be more acceptable in the West. Now things are changed, so
Yeah.
we are more open, but our culture is very, very different from the East one. There is more thinking about yourself in a certain way, more individuality. Instead, when you go and look at all this tradition in the East, there is more connection with the nature, more community. I'm talking about all this last century, you know. You know, luckily now we have really changing. I'm very excited because I see the changes.
Yeah.
That is very,
It is an exciting time. I think it is because so many scientific people are getting into this field as well, because it does give it a bit of validity. But it's funny, like you said, that feeling you got the first time you had a breathwalk session yourself, and you felt a change. We so often kind of ignore that in our
yeah,
society as well. So people who still may sit on the skeptical end of it,
yeah,
they will say it's a benefit, but then they still say there's it's crockery. It was funny. I was at a consultation with my mom to see her GP, and she was saying that she was going to have acupuncture. And he said he didn't believe in it. And so she asked, "Have you had acupuncture before?" And he said he had it on his knee. And he said it fixed his knee completely. So he didn't have a bad acupuncture session as well. Never had knee pain again. But he said he thinks that he did it in his head that there couldn't be anything in the acupuncture, and it's the fact that he relaxed for a period of time. And you kind of feel like saying, well, let's say that is the case. You did it in your head. Isn't that powerful? That the
yeah,
fact that
exactly,
acupuncture, the power of the
exactly.
mind, that it you wanted to stop the pain before. Like there was nothing stopping you from saying, I hate this pain. But it wasn't until the acupuncture session that the pain actually went away. So I think the more scientific people and the more medical people kind of embrace success rather than
Yeah,
saying that because I can't prove it,
yeah,
let's
yeah,
ignore it.
yeah, yeah.
It will be positive. I think it will have a good impact. But yeah, you're right. We've come so far. So we need to be optimistic and positive. So that gets me into thinking about kind of the environment where this energetic practice takes place. Um, again, we need to think about the body as body, mind, and spirit, which is your environment as well. So, a lot of people who live in urban environments tend to feel like, doing something like outdoor breath walking looks a bit naff in the middle of, the city.
Yeah,
And then, similarly in rural environments, sometimes they treat outside differently. There are long walks, but I do know a lot of people who live in villages and rural environments that don't actually take advantage of the air and the
yeah.
energy of the environment. So can you talk a bit about how environment plays into breath walking and what
Yeah, this is a good question. Thank you. Yeah, it's obviously we would like always to have opportunity to practice outside with the nature and so on. So, for example, the session I did on the Sundays are always in the park, but it's can be practiced. You get the advantages also in urban settings.
yeah.
And because sometimes there are also nice routes, nice places that you can explore. And so it's you can find nice places where you can start your meditation. We are in Liverpool. There are nice places also in Liverpool one where you can do this. And for now, in fact, I practice in the park. In the past, I did different settings, so also in urban, and that is very good because, again, as I was mentioning, it's get in touch with yourself, grounding in an environment where usually it's harder to do this. So it's training yourself also and your body to experience techniques that then you will put in practice when you have finished. You feel the benefit, you will see, for example, something that maybe was annoying you firstly, you will look in a different way. So that is very, very good. And so I will plan also some session in the summer, also in the urban setting. Thank you.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
anticipated something.
yeah,
Yeah, because the benefits are very good.
yeah.
Also doing, in the city center or, yeah, because or most of the cities I have been, they always have nice places that during our routine, our fast-paced life, walking to work, short break, and so on, we don't see. So
Mm,
it's nice.
yeah, because
Yeah,
that's a key element of it as well, is to get kind of healing and reconnection from every environment.
yeah,
I know that just in going through my health journey and maximizing my health, that seeing things differently has been amazing. It's helped me with work, but it's also helped me in life. So whereas I would be caught behind a lot of traffic or something like that, I would get really stressed. Actually, it reminds me of our first breathwalking session.
yeah,
Remember, they were having it was the run. It was the St.
yeah,
Patrick's Day
yeah.
run, wasn't it? And we were both late because we got caught behind loads of things. But as the runners were there, and I was texting you back and forth to say that I'm on my way, I noticed that I was seeing this as this is part of the plan. This is part of
Yeah,
everything that was
yeah,
happening. It's a Sunday, why am I stressing about not being able to,
yeah,
get across to the park? And it energized me, actually, thinking about like how to get to the park. It was good stress. It was
yeah.
lovely. Yeah, that's a really good thing about seeing things differently. And I am aware that I can walk and I can go places without having to think about, if there's ramps, if there's stairs, if there's various other things. I realize that that is quite an advantage. So in terms of breath walking, I know walking is part of it, but can you incorporate breath walking if you aren't very mobile? Is it something that you can do in terms of the movements maybe instead, or?
I um, I think I needed to think about this because
Yeah,
thinking that it was developed from a scientific point of view, proving the results of using certain techniques, as I mentioned, in certain way. Uh, I would like to explore how the effect of walking can
yeah,
be maybe incorporating by doing something different, like visualization, for example.
yeah,
But honestly, I would like to explore more, and
yeah,
it would be nice to do also some research with some scientists to
yeah,
test this, because
yeah,
we know now a lot about the visualization.
yeah,
There are also in the sport, they use it to train the athlete and so on. So maybe it's something. So obviously something that it's called breath walk as a
yeah.
foundation of the walking, but this doesn't mean that can't be adapted in the future. I would be happy to do
Yeah.
this.
Yeah,
Really.
that would be amazing because I remember in one of the tutorials, because I'm studying to be a naturopath, in one of the tutorials there was a case study with someone with fibromyalgia. And that's crippling pain, and sometimes people can't even get up to have take a walk, they're just
Yeah,
in such pain. But meditation and kind of that visualization, proven in studies
yeah,
that an hour of meditation and more can actually decrease the pain and
yeah,
actually get them up and walking. And clearly they would probably be in their bed, or
yeah,
just a limited mobility if it got too bad. But the fact that that
yeah,
visualization actually had a measured decrease in substance P, which we know that
yeah,
that increase, that's the mediator for pain. Um, so yeah, that would be some great research, and that's why I think it's so powerful that people like yourself with a physics background, a scientific background, people who have studied in science are thinking about these things, and
yeah.
actually opportunities. So hopefully, maybe from our chat, somebody says, "Oh, I'm going to do a study." Wheelchair
Yeah.
users and people with limited mobility. Um,
Yeah, but for sure, I would encourage anyone with some mobility difficulties to try also different techniques,
yeah,
yoga, tai chi, no, when the thing is very slow, or qigong, or there are
yeah,
now plenty offer. So for sure. I believe everyone needs to find his way, the things that suits them very well, because we are all different. So I tried the different things. For example, I do Kundalini yoga a lot, which is very dynamic. I tried Hatha yoga, which I like, energetically I like, but physically it doesn't suit me. I have anytime I finish also with great teacher, so it's not the teaching or, but it's something that at the physical level, sometimes your muscles have more fiber of one type or another, which allow you to stretch more or less. So I think my physical body is more prone to accept better dynamics that stretching. So just to say that everyone needs to find his own way. So this is very good. I find it perhaps very good for men, because also is a research they did that compared the results, for example, with people practicing, people that were average in mood, also with negative mood, with achievers, so high professional businessmen, things like that, and also that they were supposed not to have much. Say they had already everything very positive, and also in this case, the results were very good in improving their feeling. So they were like 100%. When people say from a scale 1 to 10, they were just 10 at the end. So I think also for men that sometimes are more shy to work and try something that include also be beyond the mind and body, also something their emotion, I would say. It's something that could be really, really game changing
Yeah, no,
yeah, in
it's
their
such a
life.
yeah, it's such a good point because we have men have more stress these days. They cardiovascular disease, heart attack, even relationships. Men are struggling to maintain marriages and relationships, and they are expressing this,
Yeah,
and they tend to only focus mind, physical,
yeah,
not knowing there's so many opportunities in the spiritual, emotional, energetic space that can kind of tie it all
yeah,
together.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
No, I'm glad you mentioned that because oftentimes there is good, there's a big focus in terms of this type of medicine on women, but
yeah,
we're up for anything, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
It's
But
true.
sometimes we need to like remember that men could also benefit
Yeah,
a lot from things
yeah.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you think it's something that can be also 40 minutes with 1 hour, okay, you have all time also to integrate a lot, but especially at the beginning, can be shortened a little bit time. So can fit also a lunch break, for example. So could be also good in the corporate,
Yeah, corporate arena, yeah.
yes,
So many people who have kind of, you'll hear about these gurus, these CEOs, these executives
yes,
who kind of incorporate yoga first thing in the morning and exercise and all the benefits. And I think like middle tier execs and stuff, maybe just senior managers and stuff, they tend to have a lot of stress, and I find they tend to be more reluctant to do things like that. So it is also a strategy for success as well,
yeah,
just to be able to connect with work a bit better. So yeah, these are all good
yeah,
points, and I think that kind of tailoring your body is really important.
yeah.
I'm very hyper flexible, and yoga sometimes can actually hurt me. That's why I like the breath walking. I tend to do things that are more physical, like lifting weights or something like that. That helps my body a bit better. But even still, I have a lot of heat in my body, so I have to be really careful about not doing things that produce too much heat. And so, for people who understand this, that's a
Yeah.
TCM, traditional Chinese medicine
Yeah.
terminology.
Yeah.
Just so if you don't know anything about it, I will pop it into the description, so don't worry. But so I have to be really careful, and I'm still finding the best thing for me. So yeah, that's a really good point. That sometimes it's a journey to find which approach.
Yeah, it's better for you.
Yeah.
And luckily now we have a really an offer that we can really choose the best things or more than one things, because sometimes it's just more than one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, thank
This
you.
has been absolutely fantastic. I've learned so much, so thank you so
Oh,
much
thank
for
you.
that. In terms of you, just what you do and when to find you and where to find you, do you mind to say a bit about like how we can
Oh.
find Stefania for breath walking and the various things you do?
Okay, I am rebranding all the website. So for now, there is email that is all the way, but it's still working. And so it's a Breathwalk in Liverpool at the Gmail.
Okay.
And all my Breathwalk is on Eventbrite, on profound wellness category, if you look at that. And the next one for if someone is interested, would be on the 9th of June at 10 here in Sefton Park.
Okay. Great.
In
And you do
Liverpool.
things with batch flowers as well. We didn't get
Yeah,
into that, but talk a bit about batch flowers. And because interestingly enough, as I'm studying to be a naturopath, but a specialty in herbalism,
yeah,
a lot of people don't know about batch flowers and they get kind of confused about whether it's homeopathy, whether it is herbal
yeah.
medicine, that sort of thing. So you do some work around batch flowers as
Yeah, yeah,
well.
I am actually a Bach Flowers practitioner, so qualified fully from the Bach Center in Oxfordshire, where the Dr. Bach lived and
Wow.
also
Yeah.
developed all the method. And I'm also qualified for treating animals, so pets like cats, dogs, but also horses, for example, that experience a lot of stress, experience especially if they compete in
Oh, wow.
races and so on. Yeah, Bach Flowers, we would need another interview.
Exactly. So we'll have to do one. So don't you worry.
Yeah, but it's something, again, as I mentioned, you need to find your ways. So for
Yes.
me, it was, for example, my route could be go to Ayurveda, straightforward. No, you do yoga, you do Ayurveda. But I was actually looking for something closer to my cultural background. Because
Yeah.
with Ayurveda, you need to know a lot about
Yeah.
the tradition, culture, I think, if
Yeah.
you want to use it, so you have to dedicate a lot of time to that. So when I found the Bach Flowers, it was like, yeah, it's
Yeah.
that. And in some way, reading all the scripts of Dr. Bach, he also mentioned the Mother India. So back in 1930, if we think about, we had the scientific revolution with many discoveries. Thinking about the X-ray, just to mention one. Then from a psychology point of view, we had the Jung, Freud, all these one. We had in art nouveau, whatever. And also in medicine, we had like Dr. Bach, the homeopathy, and so on.
Yeah.
It was quite
A
not a
cemetery
novelty, something
revolution.
changing,
Yeah.
breaking all the thinking at that
Yeah.
time. So when I found it, it very, very not only interesting but really resonating. The idea of your feeling are the causes of your not being well physically, which in the yoga is almost the same. I say almost because there are karmic illness that would
Mm.
be when you say, depending on your DNA and so on, where you are chronic or you were born with this. In the yoga, it's like karmic.
Yeah.
Not nice, but
No.
it's that.
Yeah.
And then you have some illness that derive from your mindset, from your thoughts. So very similar to what Dr. Bach says. And then you have the kind of illness that not depends from you. For example, you sleep or you cut your finger, you are healed at that moment in
Yeah.
time, but it's something
Something
outside.
acute and
Yeah.
quick. Yeah.
And Dr. Bach always said this is complementary because he was a virologist, a bacteriologist, so a proper. He completed and qualified as a doctor, so he had all the background in this. But is a complementary, and they never said allopathic medicine is not needed. You need it, but
Yeah,
you
you
can
do.
complement it.
That's such a key point that it is
Yeah,
complementary. It is to kind of optimize and enhance. Obviously, if you need a major surgery, we're
yeah,
not going to not
yeah,
do
yeah,
that. And another really good point is mentioning that something that's based in your tradition, traditional European medicine, which is starting to get recognized, is a type of medicine. We
yeah,
kind of assume Orthodox medicine is
yeah,
European medicine, but it's not. It's people like Bach. It's all the herbalists and
yeah,
those people and history. And it's similar with traditional African medicines trying to get recognized, such a very botanica in the African Latin
yeah,
medicine. People forget that outside of TCM and Ayurveda, there are other
yeah,
healthcare, traditional complementary
yeah,
medicines. And sometimes in that searching, you may find that you more resonate with the things that are in your DNA, as you say,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
the
yeah,
stuff that you can really
exactly.
relate to. So yeah, and we can share all of our
Yeah,
traditions as
exactly.
well, which is so
Yeah,
exciting.
yeah, and maybe also it's just a changing of language of certain
Yeah,
herbs because in a
yeah,
specific country, obviously you have a geological setting or
yeah,
biological setting, so a climate that favorites more certain herbs compared on
yeah,
in other places. And so this variety is also it's very important, and it's very important also to uh, rediscover all these things because
yes,
also in Europe you have a tradition for example, in the Middle Age,
yeah.
Hildegarda.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
maybe you
yeah,
heard,
yeah,
and she already discovered and wrote a lot. I don't know much, but I know
yeah,
that she had his own system about
yeah,
this, and she's very reevaluated now a lot. And so in Italy, if you think the in medieval, all the tradition of the
yeah,
monks that had their
exactly.
own herbs and so on
Yeah,
still alive. And I think it's the same also in UK,
yeah, yeah,
the Celtic also tradition, also in the
exactly.
ritual and so on. There is a lot to rediscover, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, indigenous medicine, Native American medicine, the herbs that we're
Exactly.
sharing. Yeah, it's so much. So there is a wide botanica, there's a wide knowledge set. There's so much in traditional
And you made
practices.
me think, mentioning African.
Yeah.
I, in my research studies, I went in Kenya and I worked
Oh,
there.
wow.
And so I work with a geologist, and I asked, what do you do when you want to relax? He said, just get a walk
Wow.
on a certain mountain. So you see
Wow.
how much is in
Yeah.
the, you know,
Culture, yeah, and how that synergize
naturally
naturally.
embedded. And then you
Yeah.
just, so
Yeah.
again,
Yeah.
is when I want, I go for a walk in the specific mountain, I get my mind clear, connected, and so on. He's a geologist, so he's a scientist.
Yeah, exactly. That's scientist rule.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because it's fantastic how there in the region I went, it was quite rural. There are still a lot of tradition, very, very vibrant and alive. That is really, I said, we need to continue to keep this alive because it's very
Exactly.
important,
Very
very important.
yeah, oh, this was lovely. Oh,
Oh, thank
we'll
you
have
so
to do
much.
it again. Definitely do it
Yeah,
again.
my pleasure.
And this was fantastic.
Yeah,
So
thank you.
see you guys, and I hope you enjoy. Take
Thank you.
care. Good health.